Good morning, everybody. I just want to do this. It's Thursday, remember, and I want to do just a quick, YouTube one, and I'll post this today. I'm working on another one that I made like yesterday, but I'm adding verses. Oh, the title I forget now, but it's something like, "Is President Obama a Muslim?" But I want you to read. You got to watch the videos. Don't judge everything by the titles and all. Okay, those who watch might know. I just want to do short, hopefully, and something I wanted to say and I forgot. When I visit Pops at he's in a high class. It's called Trinity Towers. It's one of the most high class senior places. Very expensive, right off Ocean Drive. But he's in there because that's where he's getting his physical therapy, and he's doing much better. But when I first seen Pops the first day, he had a black doctor that was doing his physical therapy with him. And Pops introduced me, and he's a Catholic from Africa. And so as I talked a little bit, I said, he seemed interested. And he told me he wanted me to know some of his story. He said, "I'm going to leave some of my books." He has an accent. He says, "I'm going to leave some of them in Pop's room. You could see them." He basically was an Olympic athlete and came to the United States competing in the Olympic Games many years ago. And his looks like a high school journal, but his books showed he was called the Carl Lewis of, I forget which country. Of course, Africa's a continent, so each one is a country in Africa, right? And I forget which one, but that's how he came. And as I talked with him that first day, a little bit, and then I went back to bring the food for Pops, and I didn't see Pops because he was in the therapy and he was not in his room, and I really was upset with Pops, but I just left the food. But as I was leaving, the doctor, I didn't even see him. I'm, walking, and the doctor said, "Hi," and I told him, and that day I just talked about the terrorist bombing that was in Chad, which I mentioned. I mentioned it the other day. It might be a video still going to go up, but there was a terrorist bombing in Chad. I read about it Saturday. It was a very small article. 24 people were killed by the radical group Boko Haram. And I said, I told him, I said, I just talked about Chad. I said, and it has no, there's no coverage, no big thing. They're making a bigger thing about Trump's comments. And I told him, I said, that shows us that we don't cover, the media does not cover the incidents where blacks are killed, 24 of them on a Saturday, and it was a footnote. But this is just what I wanted to communicate. For about 4 days, when I'm like in these types of feelings is when I usually start going, driving, leaving. And yesterday I took my ride out to the island, and I saw a car pull up. I'm going to do my walk. I walk out on the island. I like it, by the ocean. And it said New York. I'm like, oh, that's the sign. I'm kind of bad with that. But then last night I was going to read my 3 chapters. But for about 4 days I was very, very uncomfortable. Just don't want to be here. And, just here. But where do you want to be? I don't know. I get that. And I thought, well, I don't know if my reading of the chapters are going to have anything, I said, I know most of the verses there are to read, but I read and I try to humble my mind. So, and I read Mark 1, and that's the story of the temptation. I read a lot more of the Gospels now than I used to. And Jesus is baptized of John, and the Holy Spirit comes upon Jesus, descends like a dove on him. And the Father says, "This is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased." And it says, and immediately the Spirit drove him into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And I'm not sure if it's in Mark's account, but in one of the other Gospels it says, and he returned in the power of the Spirit after all of the wilderness tests and trials. And so that's, the chapter. Then I went to Ezekiel. I'm reading through Ezekiel and also Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy, I could teach a little of that, but. And so what am I going to get out of Ezekiel? It's tough. Ezekiel's tough. You know, God's rebuking his people through the prophets. In the one verse, because it is a trial. Ezekiel 21:13. The words were, because it is a trial. And I thought, okay, that's what I'm understanding. And then I walk in my yard. I got that nice prayer walk. Still dark. I got up early, 2:30 today. But when I walked in the yard, I have all types of scriptures memorized. And some are not painted anymore. I used to have some painted on the fence and on the house. And I painted the fence and I painted the house. So those, you've seen others I have, but those were older ones. But when I walk by those spots where they used to be painted, I still will remember, just by looking at the painted fence with nothing on, I'll remember the verses I had there. It connects your mind to things. And one section is just where I quote from the Apostle Peter. But I usually don't quote this verse, but when I walked past it last night after reading this, I remember the verse from Peter, Beloved, think it not a strange thing, the fiery trial which is about to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. And so, the word, for last night was, because I was saying, there's something wrong, and just in the feeling of something's not right. And it was a trial. That's what I felt God was saying. So I want to do this short one and communicate. I saw Jimmy yesterday and one of my other friends, Don. And I saw a few friends, but I just was not feeling comfortable. And, Andy the other day, I don't have it to show you, but he had his old coin, how many months he was clean. And I think Andy was clean for almost a few years ago. Struggled back and forth with alcohol and stuff. But when I visited him the other day, you saw the little video with me and Crow and Andy. He gave it to me. He said, you can have this. I took it. My 3 years sober will be January 3rd. But I want to encourage you guys. I don't want to discourage you. This is just a quick one. So maybe that's a word for you today. You're not always able to understand all things. And sometimes it's a trial, okay? Ezekiel 21, let's see. Can you see it? Because it is a trial. I want to bless you today, okay? Short one. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give you peace.